Hey, you guys, it's Katia with Hindustan Astrology. Welcome back to my channel. And today I wanted to go over the chart of a very important and influential woman in not just the United States, but all over the world. And that is Aretha Franklin. I just watched the movie today, Respect, the new one that just came out, and it is phenomenal. So let's see if I can get through this video without bawling. She has that effect on people. We just love her so much, and her story is, whew, I mean, it's iconic. It's, groundbreaking. It's, any adjective, adverb you can think of that describes something that is something sent from God. And that's something that, two things that I really thought were the takeaways for me from the film. The first was the role of angels, angels that come down into bodies. And then also the second takeaway for me was something she said at the very end. It's not really a spoiler, but I think it's really was her sentiment throughout her life, which was what she came to. You can't jive God. What does that mean? Well, jive is, it's a slang language that African Americans used in the 60s and 70s that is kind of like their own language, the way they would talk. But the way she was referring to it was not in a noun, but in a verb. So what does it mean to jive somebody? It means to manipulate somebody. And what she was trying to tell us all is that you can't manipulate God. He's got a plan, and you need to be quiet and you need to listen to it. Yes, we do have free will. Of course we do, but our free will is our attitude. It's not the events in our life. Let me repeat that. Our fixed karma is our what we came in with, what we're here to do. That does not change. You cannot change that. You can't suddenly become a doctor. If you're going to become a doctor, it's in your birth chart, okay? The unfixed karma is your attitude. It's your spiritual growth. It's how you approach what God has handed to you. The ego wants to change it. And, but if we can tame our ego, we can listen to what God's plan is for us. And I feel that's the best use of astrology, because astrology is not a religion, it's a science. So I've heard the opinion that, the difference between a birth chart and Prashna is, everything is contained in both, right? Any question you want to ask is contained in both. But the question is, how are you looking at the patterns? Prashna does not have a history. When you are pulling up a horary chart, it does not have a history. And because of that, you need to project from the future upon the chart that you have right there. Whereas a birth chart, you can see a pattern leading up to that. Yes, you can use the dashas in the Prashna, but in a birth chart, you can see what was happening before somebody was born, especially if they were born in a dasha where it was later. Now, back to the idea that everything is contained in the Prashna chart, and that if you don't see it, well, then that's just the reader's fault. Well, that's a belief system. And a belief relies upon faith, whereas a fact relies upon proof. So there is no history or proof leading up to a Prashna chart. So if you are saying that any question you want to ask is contained in the Prashna chart, that's a belief, that's not a fact. And a belief is a religion. Astrology, especially Vedic astrology, is not a religion, guys. Yes, it comes from Hinduism. Yes, it's listed in the Vedas, but You cannot, Jyotisha is the science of light, okay? It's the science of light. Science means that, okay, let's go over methodology. In hard science, you start with, hard science, physics, math. You start with a theory, and then you try to prove that theory, right? In other words, their facts must be provable. It must be whatever experiment you do, you must be able to replicate it and get the same results, okay? Soft sciences, such as anthropology and the social sciences, we use what's called an emergent methodology, meaning we don't start with an hypothesis and work backwards. We don't reverse engineer a theory. We let the theories emerge. It's an emergent type of methodology, okay? And this all goes back to philosophy, and especially epistemology. What is epistemology? It asks, what is the lens that you look through to discern your truths? And if the lens you're looking through relies upon faith, then that's not science, okay? That's a religion. So let's be very clear. If you're saying that Prashna, everything is in the Prashna chart, that's a religion. And hey, if you believe that, more power to you. My experience and several other people is that Prashna works half the time, and you need to use it in conjunction with the birth chart. And if you don't have a solid birth chart, find one that is. There's going to be a birth chart significant to you, whatever you're asking about, that has a solid time. Use that and then gauge the house, right? So like if you don't have the birth chart of the mother, but you have it of the daughter, then you make the fourth house the ascendant. That's the mother. That's how you do that. So the two takeaways, you can't jive God, okay? So you can't manipulate God. God has his plan. We need to listen to it. It's in the birth chart. It's not necessarily in the Prashna. Prashna is, in my opinion, the devil's door to confuse you because you're trying to play God. So you can't jive God, okay? That's number one that I got from this movie. Number two that I got from this movie, and it has reinforced it over and over. Every obese person that I have read for has two things going on. Number one, there's always sexual abuse in the childhood. And number two, they seem to have an angelic spirit that is too sensitive for this world. And because of abuse, they can't seem to fit their light body into their body. They're angels. And so they just kind of like spill over, and that is exactly what I'm seeing with Aretha. She is an angelic presence that had a lot of abuse, but she used it to transform her life. And she has a heavy 8th house. So without further ado, let's take a look at Aretha Franklin's chart. And I have her birth time as March 25th, 1942 at 10:30 p.m. in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, whenever I see a time like this, 10:30 p.m. for a star, we're not necessarily certain if it's exact. It could be 10:29, it could be 10:28, it could be 10:32, you know what I mean? Which would change all of the divisional charts beneath it. So I'm not going to really look at the divisional charts. I'm just going to use this. We know that she was born 10:30, so I'm confident that she is a Libra ascendant, but I'm not confident about the 60 charts beneath it. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to look at the Prashna. And I'm just going to update it for the current time so we get it solid. I like to hit this button 3 times or just to make sure the stop button, because if you don't stop it, it will make every chart up here this chart. So, and right now we have a Capricorn ascendant in Shravana. We have So if we use our KP ruling planets, we have the ascendant sign lord, which is Saturn. We have the moon sign lord, which is Mars. We have the moon star lord, which is the sun. And then today is Saturday, so that's Saturn. So we have two things indicating Saturn. So I'm thinking that this is going to be an important house for her. So let's take a look at her chart. Well, what do we have in Capricorn? Venus. What is Venus? It's the chart ruler. So she has Libra as her ascendant in Vishaka, and Libra has as its Yoga Karaka planet, Venus. I'm sorry, Saturn. Venus is the chart ruler, Saturn is the Yoga Karaka, and we have Venus in Saturn's sign in the fourth house. That's really strong, you guys. That shows an incredibly strong emotional tie with her mother. And as we know, she lost her mother at a very young age, around 8 or so, 10 maybe. 10 or 11, actually. I wanted to do this video while my mind was fresh with stuff from the movie. So we know already that this is the Yoga Karaka planet. It sits in Saturn's sign, and it's opposite to Pluto retrograde in the 10th. So whenever I see a combination of, Pluto, Venus conjunction or opposition, I know that there is betrayal, love betrayal, and we know that. But particularly her father. And she did feel emotionally betrayed by her father at one point. But let's talk about Vishaka. And this is something I've discovered of just observing my friends and people in the media, in the news and Hollywood, is that Vishaka is the dark goddess. Yes, Libra is the goddess, but Vishaka is like the Gothic queen. She's got an edge to her. She's got that, tribal belly dance kind of vibe where she's not about being all glamorous and froofy. She's about changing things. And as we know, Libra rules law. Well, Aretha, what was she really here to do? She was here to use her voice for civil rights movement in the 60s. Yeah, that was a big part of why she was here. And we know that Capricorn, the Yoga Karaka planet, Venus's dispositor is over here. In the 8th house, we have Saturn in Taurus, which is actually a good place for it to be, with Uranus, Mars, and Jupiter. That's really heavy, you guys, 8th house. And you would think, okay, somebody who is as famous as her would have a really heavy 2nd house with that voice, right? Well, what's opposite the 2nd house of the voice? The 8th house. And so all of this stuff is opposing the 2nd house. So let's talk about the 8th house for just a minute. Yes, it's transformation. I call it sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But there's another aspect to it. And you'll really see this if you ever watch the Glow miniseries on Netflix. It's a makeup artist, design show. And one of the challenges they had to do was to show what it is that they've overcome in life by using makeup, like, something theater or something. And every single one of them had horrible traumas and, things to overcome in their life. And that's the thing about artists. I have looked at many people in the beauty industry, that I've been to, like my hairdressers and makeup artists and stuff, and they all have a heavy 8th house. So 8th house is bringing light to the darkness. And it's about bringing up from the deep all of those subconscious traumas. And we know that she was raped as a young girl. I think she was 11 or so, right after her mother passed, and she had a baby. She had 2 babies. I don't know. They didn't really explain it in the movie how it happened, but I'm assuming it was the same guy. who she had the children with, and she didn't tell anybody who it was. That's really heavy, you guys. I can't imagine, this Saturn in the eighth. This is some heavy karma that she's had to burn through. And the way she had to burn through it was experiencing trauma. And Mars in the eighth, my goodness, this is indicating disease, big time. And actually, I looked up when she died, and she was in Sun, Saturn, Dasha cycle. And her sun sits in the 6th house and Saturn sits in the 8th house. So it's no wonder that that's the time period that she passed. But this 8th house, and this Rohini, oh gosh, that indicates sexual abuse. That's Rohini getting chased by Prajapati and becoming pregnant. And yeah. So let's talk. I haven't even talked about her moon yet. She's the comeback kid. This is Punarvasu in the 9th house. 9th house is luck and fortune. It's naturally ruled by Jupiter, and she has Punarvasu, which is ruled by Jupiter, as her moon. So no matter what, she rebounded. She was the comeback kid. And then Mercury sits over here with Ketu in the 5th house. Extremely talented. Past life stuff, very smart, like occult knowledge. She had extreme spiritual occult knowledge. And I think that she had to go through these traumas to bring that forth. Okay, I'm digressing. I really want to talk about this sun in Pisces. This is something that I've discovered with people who in Western, they are a sun in Aries, and then in their Vedic chart, their sun goes back to Pisces, and they flip out. Oh, I am not a Pisces. I am an Aries, like they're very adamant about it. And I think people are just confused about what Pisces really is, I'm sorry, I don't really know a lot of Aries divas. Real Aries are way too busy doing. They're constantly in motion. They have their eyes on the prize and they're getting things done. They're really not the divas that everyone makes them out to be. Yes, they like to be first. They like it to be about them, but if they have enough other good things to support it, then they're not, so egotistical, right? It's the Pisces who's the diva, y'all. I'm sorry, Aries is not a diva. Pisces is the diva. So all of you who have their sun in Aries in Western, and it goes back to Pisces in Vedic, just know that it's true. That Aries diva you're trying to be is actually a Pisces diva. Why? Well, Pisces in Western is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is film. These are the movie stars, man. And it's in Uttara Bhadrapada for her. And Uttara Bhadrapada this is the serpent of the deep, right? So this is very spiritual. And I have found that Uttara Bhadrapada people are the storytellers. These are the ones who will enthrall you with a book or a song or whatever they want to speak in front of you. And that's what she was. She was a storyteller. She told the songs of our hearts. And she just touched so many people. And that's the Pisces and the Uttara Bhadrapada. Now, moon, right? So in Vedic, you are your moon. It's in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and Punarvasu, which is ruled by Jupiter. So Mercury and Jupiter are particularly important for us to understand who she really is. And her Mercury is sitting with Ketu in Purva Bhadrapada. This is Ijikapada. This is the one-footed goat aspect of Rudra, the storm god. But the way we can think of him in a Western, I guess, more familiar for people from the West or a Christian background, is if you think of the horned devil. This is Purva Bhadrapada. He's the rebel. And what is he here to do? He's here to bust patterns. Okay. So in the movie, I don't know if you, but well, if anybody remembers those commercials from a few years ago, you're hangry. And then Aretha Franklin comes on the screen, I'm hangry. Oh, your diva self is coming out, right? Well, she had something, what her friends and family called the demon inside of her. And I think it comes back to this early childhood memory, not memory, I'm sorry, it's not even early, of being raped. She never emotionally dealt with it as a 11-year-old girl. And whenever people would try to encroach upon her freedom or try not to respect her, then this demon would come up. And it was more fierce than other people because she had been so disrespected as a child, you see. Busting patterns. What other patterns did she bust? Well, social stuff, what was going on, not just, racial relations between Black and white people in the United States, but gender relations too. What do you think respect was about? Do you really know what that song means? Do you know what respect means? No, she's not just singing about getting respect. When Otis Redding sang it, he was singing about sexual favors. Okay, that's what respect meant. So for her to turn around and take this song as a woman and sing it, she's not talking about, well, maybe she's talking about sexual favor, but what she's talking about is what, respect. You give me some respect, as a woman. So she was here to bust patterns. And it's with Ketu, very spiritual. Her education, her early childhood was all in the church. And we haven't even talked about Rahu, right? Rahu's in the 11th house, man, communities. What is, a church, what she was raised in, but a community. And then what did she do? She affected everything in the United States. I mean, I could go on, but I'm not going to. I'll just leave it at that, say that it's deep. And many communities. And in Purva Falguni, which is the party nakshatra, right? What did she do? Is the opening scene of the movie, they're at a party at her family's home and she has to come out and sing it for everybody. So she was able to use her community and her singing to bust patterns with her voice. I mean, yes, it's the throat. Yes, it's Taurus, but what is she doing? She's communicating thoughts, and that's Mercury. Okay. Very spiritual thoughts. God, I love this chart. And it's so deep, you guys. I could go into layers, into more yogas. But I just want you to see why I'm showing you this, the power of the 8th house, the power of, trauma, and how if we can change it, how we can help other people. And, I just feel that one of the greatest things she did for women was to allow us to accept ourselves the way we are. She would dress as a large woman, dressed very sexy, and she was very confident in herself. That's a very Sun in Pisces, diva-esque way to be. And I think we also, we always associate Maga Nakshatra as the queen, which is in Leo. I mean, I was expecting, honestly, when I pulled up her chart, I saw this Rahu in Leo and I said, oh, and I looked at the degree and I went, wait, that's not Maga. I was expecting this to be in Maga, but it's not. It's in Purva Falguni, which is ruled by Venus. And again, we're back to Venus as her chart ruler, and her Yoga Karaka planet is in Saturn. Is Saturn, which is in Venus's sign, right? Oh God, we have a Parivartana Yoga. Hello. So this is what happens. Sometimes we just gloss over things because we're thinking about something else. So Saturn in Taurus' sign, Taurus is ruled by Venus, right? Venus and Saturn sign of Capricorn. So this is a Parivartana yoga between the 4th and the 8th. And we know that her mother died at a young age. So the death of her mother is really what triggered a lot of this, because I think it was after her mom died that she was raped. So, if her mother had been there, that probably wouldn't have happened. But maybe, I, I don't know. God knows best, but what I've seen is that we have to go through difficulties in our karma to fulfill our karma in this life, our destiny and our fate in this life. And so, yeah. Aretha. Neptune in the 8th. I'm sorry, in the 12th. Very spiritual, very, very spiritual. And a movie star known all over in foreign countries. I don't know anybody that doesn't know Aretha. And I think this new generation needs to be reminded. And I'm so glad that this film came out. So, I just want to show the power of, we were just looking at the Prashna. Okay, what's the ascendant? We decided Saturn was the most important planet, and we see Saturn is pretty much defining what's going on with her life. And so this is what I like to do. I don't want to use this chart to jive God. I'm with Aretha on that one. So, okay, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I don't want to dive too deep into her chart. I think I got out what I wanted to say. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message on my website, which is hindustanastrology.com. And also check out my shop. I've got several new products there. I've got my Navagraha elixirs, bracelets, and Yantra cosmic healing discs. I've also got some bath and body products that I made with my daughter, such as bath bombs and whipped body butter, which I love. And I got some sugar scrubs too. So come on over, check it out. If you like a reading, you can sign up under my consultations tab. So with this, I will leave you, and I hope that you have a great weekend, and namaste. Bye-bye.